At the western edge of ancient China, an old man is riding an ox out of civilization for good, and he is leaving with nothing. This is not a poor man. As the story goes, he spent his life as keeper of the royal archives, the man through whose hands passed the accumulated knowledge of an entire empire. At the last gate before the desert, a border guard begs him not to vanish without leaving his wisdom behind. So the old man writes about 5,000 characters, hands them over, and rides off, never to be seen again. Buried in those characters is one line most people get completely backwards. You spend your life trying to accumulate enough to finally feel rich, while this man is about to tell you that you have had it upside down the entire time. The old man was Laozi, and the line was this: "He who knows he has enough is rich, not he who has a lot, and not he who finally hits the number, but he who knows he has enough." Rich was never a quantity you reach. It is the moment the chasing stops. You already know this in your gut because you have lived it. You got the raise, and within a month it quietly became your new normal, while you eyed the next one. You hit the number you swore would be enough, and it was not. The goalposts moved the second you got close. By the end of this video, you will understand why enough is a decision and not an amount. Laozi lived by tradition in the 6th century BCE, old enough that the histories blur into legend, so much so that serious people still argue about whether he was one man at all. What survives is the book attributed to him, the Tao Te Ching, around 5,000 characters, and one of the most translated and widely read texts in human history. He lived in a dying age, when the great Zhou dynasty was rotting from within through scheming, war, ambition, and grasping for more land, rank, and control. There is even an old legend that a young Confucius came to Laozi for advice and left rattled, as if he had met something he could not categorize. While everyone around him equated more with better, more territory, more status, and more mastery over the world, Laozi looked at all that striving and saw something almost nobody else did. He did not see the cure, he saw the disease. The fix he proposed sounds, the first time you hear it, like the worst advice anyone has ever given an ambitious person. His fix was simple: stop striving, want less, and know when you have enough. To a room full of hustlers, that sounds like surrender, but it is not. Laozi's word for it is often translated as non-striving, and his favorite image for it is water. Water never forces, competes, grasps, or fights uphill. It simply goes where it goes, and given time, it carves canyons out of solid rock and reaches every low place on earth. Soft, patient, unbothered, and unstoppable, it is the opposite of laziness, power without desperation. Here is the reveal that reframes everything. Enough is not a quantity you arrive at by adding. It is a line you draw by deciding. Almost every force in your life is engineered to keep that line moving so you never cross it. Every advertisement, every feed, and every comparison to someone one rung higher keeps enough just a little farther out than wherever you are standing. Laozi's radical move is to stop letting the world move the line and fix it yourself. Laozi said it more bluntly in another passage: "There is no greater misfortune than not knowing when you have enough. Discontent is its own disaster. Chase gain, and you spend your life afraid of loss. Know when to stop, and nothing can threaten you. He who knows he has enough is rich." Laozi did not just write the line. He proved it with his life, the way Thales-style philosophers prove things. He had the archives, the status, and the center of the empire, yet he set them all down, owned nothing, wanted nothing, and rode into the desert. He became one of the most enduring voices in human history precisely because he wanted none of it. Here is how you actually run this, with each move sitting right there in what Laozi did. First, draw the line on purpose before the world draws it for you. Name the income, house, or life that would genuinely be enough, and write it down while you are calm, not while you are scrolling. If you do not define enough deliberately, the market defines it for you, and the market has a permanent interest in the answer being more. Second, get richer by subtracting, not just adding. This is non-striving made practical. Every raise you chase is taxed, delayed, and uncertain, but cutting a want is instant, tax-free, and completely in your control. The fastest raise available to you is wanting less. And unlike income, no one can take it back. Be like water. You do not have to fight uphill for every dollar when you can simply stop needing to climb. Third, measure your wealth as the gap between what you have and what you want. Everyone spends their life attacking the gap from the have side by earning and adding more, but Laozi's insight is that the want side is almost always cheaper to move. Close the gap from there and something strange happens. You become difficult to threaten because you cannot be pressured with the loss of things you do not crave. The man who knows when to stop, Laozi said, comes to no harm. 3 moves: fix the line, subtract, and mind the gap. That is the whole machine. But there is one last thing, and it is the one that stings. Be honest about what the endless chasing actually is. We call it ambition, but much of the time, The reason you cannot stop is that stopping is terrifying. If you stopped, even for a moment, you would have to sit with the life you already have and ask whether it is enough. Somewhere in you is a quiet suspicion that it might be, and that is the scariest thought of all, because then, what exactly have you been running from? It is easier to chase more forever than to risk finding out that enough was available the whole time, and you simply would not stop long enough to claim it. The man who dies with the biggest pile still dies, and he may spend his one life living in the next year instead of the current one. Laozi rode into the desert owning nothing and lost nothing, because you cannot take anything from a man who wants nothing. That is not poverty. It is the only wealth the wheel of fortune cannot repossess. It was never for sale because it was always a decision. So make it. Draw the line and step across into the life you already have. If you feel like you are falling behind no matter how much you earn, hear this clearly. That feeling is not a signal that you need more. It is a line someone else keeps moving so you never get to stop. Rich was never the size of the pile. It is the moment you stop needing it to grow. By that measure, you may already be rich and simply have not given yourself permission to feel it. Be like Laozi, not passive, because he was not, but done letting the world tell you what enough is. Draw your own line, then cross it into your own life on purpose. The richest thing you will ever own is not the number, it is the moment you know it is enough. If this reframed how you think about your own life, subscribe. There is a lot more history with this kind of edge coming.